And good Saturday morning to you all. Welcome to the Ortho United Saturday Morning Huddle. I'm Kenny Roda. He's Billy Beebe. It's our final installment of this year's Saturday Morning Huddle. Billy, unfortunately, it's our final installment. We were hoping we'd do at least one more next Saturday night where Massillon would be crowned state champs for the first time ever in the playoff era since they started the playoffs in '72. Massillon unable to win a playoff national championship. I'm thinking Buckeyes, as you can see with the hat and everything a little later on, a state championship. Unfortunately, they're going to have to wait at least another year for that to happen, possibly, as they fell last night at Akron Infocision Stadium last night. And a tip of the cap to Nate Moore and the Tigers for a good year, but Tim Tyrrell's Hoban Knights once again too much for the Massillon Tigers last night as Hoban wins it 41-20.
Yeah, 41-20. I don't know that the game speaks to the score. It's not one of those things where you feel like they're connected. Again, it was about quarters, right, Kenny?
Yeah.
Hoban wins the first. Massillon kind of gets the third. I don't know, back and forth. And then one thing I noted to you as we were walking out, I just felt like in a game where you had to have big plays, Hoban had more. Right, Hoban probably had 6, 7, 8. Massillon had 3 or 4. And in a game like this, a game of this magnitude, you got to have more. I will say this, though. I love the fact that the weather was terrific. Yep. It was about 35. Wind was light, not much wind. Wasn't that cold. We got big-time passing, big-time running. You know, it wasn't like last week where it's freezing. Everybody wants to leave. You know, the lines are just hitting. I thought we got an overall great game, and again, that's why I think the score of 41-20 doesn't necessarily speak to what we saw out there.
Here's what I'll say to that, Billy. I was happy like you that the weather didn't affect the outcome of the game, okay? Number one. Number two, Massillon dug itself a big hole, 14-0. They're down, and we'll get to the highlights here in a little bit. But they're down 14-0. And I said on the broadcast with Dan Belford, Denny Kincaid, Mark Miller, I said, hey, they've been here before. They were down 14-0 to St. Ed's, who, by the way, is playing for another Division I state championship next weekend in Canton. They were down 14-0 at home to St. Ed's, and they came back and won that game. So I knew at that point, even though Hoban had control of the game and Massillon was playing catch-up, that it wasn't over. And sure enough, in the second quarter, Massillon comes back. They get a score, make it a one-score game, 14-6, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. And then, of course, Hoban, as they've done all season long, they respond, take a 21-6 lead into halftime. But when you look at, was it 21-6 or was it 14-6 at the half? It was 21-6 at the half, right?
It was almost worse, actually.
Right. They missed the field goal. That's what I was thinking. They missed the field goal there late in the second quarter. So third quarter comes out and Hoban gets the ball. Massillon gets a turnover, right? Next thing you know, it's a one-score game again as Massillon gets the touchdown and the two-point conversion. We've got ourselves a great Division II state semifinal, 21-14. But from that point on, then, it was all Hoban as they dominated the game. And Mr. Football finalist, Lamar Sperling, showed you why. He is a Mr. Football finalist in the state of Ohio, as I think he only had, let's say this, he had 20 yards or less rushing in the first quarter. He finished with 278 yards rushing in the game. So that means in the final three quarters, he ran for about 260 and 4 touchdowns. And that puts him, are you ready for this? 3,626 yards. Not for his career, for this season. Lamar Sperling, 3,626 yards and 55 touchdowns. And I want to say that either ties or sets a new OHSAA record for most rushing touchdowns in a season. So that's why he's a Mr. Football finalist in the state of Ohio. And that's why Hoban's moving on after the 41-20 victory to Thursday night's Division II state championship game, and they'll take on Toledo Central Catholic. They beat Kings Mills 52-49. So 7 o'clock Thursday night, the first of the 7 state title games. Next week in Canton, it will be Hoban and Toledo Central Catholic.
Well, we talk Lamar Sperling, and we'll get to the game. We'll show the highlights here in just a sec. You talk about it. Massillon perseveres multiple times. Starting off first drive, Kenny, Jalen Slaughter throws a high pick. It's picked off. You think to yourself, oh, man, here we go. Hoban's got it in Massillon territory. Slaughter shook. Hartson didn't get any yards on that drive. They get a quick stop. They bounce right back, and then Hoban starts giving it to him with the back-to-back touchdown passes. Let's take a look at the first.
All right.
Look, we talk Lamar Sperling, right? And we're going to talk a lot about Lamar Sperling. They, on this first drive, like I said, they went 3 and out on their first drive. And I thought to myself, man, they gave Sperling the ball once. What's going on here? Well, they did this. They set up plays like this here, Kenny. This is their first touchdown pass, long to Rogers. They fake it to Sperling. They set up a wide open man downfield, touchdown. And we would see that was the game plan, at least early in the game. Fake Sperling, go long on the pass, push the big plays on the pass, and take advantage of the fact that, and you can almost see, Massillon doesn't have a deep safety because they're stacking the box, trying to contain, like you said, a Mr. Football candidate. Look how close they have everybody up there. They're trying to get after Sperling. Next thing you know, that's the first of the 2 opening touchdowns. Let's take a look at the second.
Well, hold on, Billy, because I want you to rerun that, and I want to comment on this. This was actually, I think this was their 3rd possession of the game, and the first 2, they gave Sperling a couple of, carries, 2 or 3 carries in the first 2 drives, right? And that set this up. You're absolutely right. Watch as the 16 for Massillon, okay? And watch, he's peeking in the backfield. Look, where does his first steps are where? Yep. Right into the backfield to stop Sperling. Perfect execution, great play call, and there he is trying to catch up, but it's too little too late after that. And that's eye discipline right there. That's overreacting, but that's also great play call, great execution, knowing that teams are going to bite on Sperling because of how good he is, and they use that to their advantage. So he was a decoy on that first touchdown pass, as he's going to be as you're going to show the second touchdown pass as well.
Yeah, well, on that one too, Kenny, and no discredit, I didn't know number 36. We had our eyes on a couple guys, and that's when I kind of realized if they've got guys that I don't know scoring to start this thing, Massillon might be in trouble, because when they do get guys that we know scoring, this game's going to change. And here is one of the guys we knew and saw all night, Javion Crable. Look at me. I'm following the quarterback. I got my eyes on the quarterback. They fake me out. Crable's open over the middle. They hit him. And again, the size of Crable, the speed of Crable on both offense. We'll see offense and defensive highlights from him. He was everywhere. And again, wide open, nobody covering him, defenders trying to catch up to receivers. These are back-to-back touchdown passes from Hoban to start the game. We haven't even seen Lamar Sperling yet on touchdown drives.
But they are using Sperling as a decoy again, Billy, and run this and watch. It looks like Sperling's wanting to catch a pass on a wheel route, and everybody's paying attention to him. They're paying attention to zero. And there you have Crable wide open. The first touchdown pass, 50 yards from long to Rogers. This second touchdown pass, 64 yards from long to Rogers. And just like that, 14-0 Hoban, and neither touchdown was scored by Lamar Sperling on the ground. And like you said, that's when it's like, okay, Massillon's in a little bit of trouble here. Let's see if they can respond. And they did, but they were playing from behind all night long because of those 2 defensive breakdowns by, the linebackers or the secondary, whoever you want to put the blame on, because I know Crable lines up as a tight end sometimes, a wide receiver other times. You've got to be disciplined on that, but you use it to your advantage, and that's why Tim Tyrrell is playing for his 7th state championship game in the 10 years he's been at Hoban now.
And I want to note something funny real quick, just a sideline eyes. I know you've got them and see things like I do. Plays like this are funny because we saw it all night, Kenny. I don't know if there was an extra ref or what was going on. So many guys almost bumped into refs, knocked refs over, ran refs over. A lot of these highlights, you'll see the refs, but that was just something funny I noticed.
Yeah, they had a bad night, the referees. They were not
Yeah,
very good last night.
I know
They really were.
the injury, but
Yeah. So it was not a good group. And then I was told this morning possibly that group may be doing the D1 state championship game. I hope they have a better game there than they did last night.
Yeah, and I guess we can note the injury for Massillon later, the situation there. But let's get back to the highlights. Again, we talk about Massillon bouncing back, pushing through, getting through adversity. Wiltrell Hartson was getting stuffed. We'll show the defensive highlights from Hoban. They were tremendous. They were moving the line. They were getting to him quick. They were not buying. I don't think Slaughter ran it himself on a designed run at all, but they were trying to.
No, but he was running for his life, Billy, throughout the game. Yeah.
We'll get to that too. But here's the first Hartson touchdown. Again, Kenny, they're pushing through adversity. They finally get a good drive together, and they get it to one of their best players. He runs it into the end zone. Finally, number one, good blocking. Number two, get Hartson in open space. I thought that's what they were lagging in that whole first half. They ran Hartson heavy up the middle. That was not Lake. You cannot push the middle. Get him in open space, and he can make plays like that. That was his only rushing touchdown of the night. Look at it. I mean, plenty of room to operate. Gets to the outside. I don't know that we saw that type of run again from him.
He showed his burst of speed right there, and with this run, for sure, it put him over the 2,000-yard rushing mark for the season, and he is now the all-time single-season leader in Massillon history for rushing yards. And as I look at my papers, he finishes with 2,034 rushing yards and 31 rushing touchdowns. So the 2,034 yards, a single-season record, and he also finishes his career unofficially on this one, just under 4,000 yards rushing and 55 touchdowns. I think I saw 3976 was the number. We'll double check on that, but he's in the top three, let's say, in career rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, but he is the single season rushing record holder. And he showed you why he's as good as he is with that, put that foot in the ground, plant, stop, and go, and nobody caught him. And you just see right there, boom, stop, cut back, and no, I think maybe a finger on him there. And he made it, a one-score game. And that's what Massillon needed at that time in the contest to make it at least a competitive game moving forward.
Yeah, and to credit Coach Moore, look, at this point in the game, give it to the guys that got you there. He was giving Hartson the ball. He was going Slaughter to Banks, right? Even if it wasn't working. When we get back to the second Massillon touchdown, we'll kind of explain how they got there. But back to Hoban, their third score of the half here, Kenny. This was an electric play. Again, in the long field, when they have 60, 70 yards to go, they said, we're going to fake Lamar Sperling, and we're going to get it to our best players. Javion Crable, what a play here. This is the long view, and then I have a close-up view of his stiff arm here.
All right.
He catches it at about midfield, gets to that outside. He's got one man to beat. Here's that stiff arm, and he gets it down to about the 11. I think I have a closer look here. Yeah, this stiff arm, incredible there for him. But again, then you get inside to about the 20, and who do you go to at that point when you're at about the 10 or 11-yard line? They go Sperling here. This was, again, one of 4 touchdowns on the day. I believe he was at about the 7. Breaking tackles, good speed. You see the blockings there, right? He's breaking the blocking, gets off it, and scores.
Yeah, Sperling with his first of 4 touchdown runs here on this. Officially, it's listed as 11 yards, Billy, after that big Crable catch and run and stiff arm to set this up. But you're right, using Sperling as a decoy in certain situations, but when it's, go time and you need a touchdown and you're inside the 20 or inside the 15-yard line, who are you going to go to? You're going to go to number 32, and that was the first of 4 rushing touchdowns for him on the night. And you're right, good job of blocking. But the thing that he does so well, and we talked to him after the game, and we'll post those interviews up on WHBC's Instagram account with both Javion Crable and Lamar Sperling. he reads his blocks so well. He has a great eye for where the play is supposed to be, where it could be. He has great vision to cut it back and cut to the open hole. And then once he does, he puts his head down, and he's got a pretty good burst of speed as well. So great job by him reading the blocking and getting it into the end zone for a 21-6 lead at this point.
Yeah, and you say all that. We can break down Sperling again in a second. Massillon, again, adversity's there. It's 21-6 at this point. They've missed extra points. Now they've got Sperling scoring on them, right, Kenny?
Yep.
And they're going to drive down again on Massillon just before halftime. I believe there's about a minute left. And you see here, they're finally getting after the quarterback. They're putting pressure on him. A bad throw here. Massillon gets a great interception. You know, the hype is kind of back. I talked about it. This is the adversity they battled through. They took pressure, but they gave it right back. You know, they could have went down 28-6 at this point in the game just before halftime. Instead, stay clean on defense, put the pressure on, good coverage, and they get a great interception here.
Jaden Welch. Yeah, number one,
Yeah.
Jaden Welch. Let's give him some credit, Billy, because you showed the highlight of Crable stiff-arming him to the ground, right? A lot of kids put their head down, man, embarrassed by that play. No, it's football. It happens. And give Jaden Welch credit because he was the guy that got knocked to the ground by Crable. He comes back and gets, like you said, a huge interception right before halftime to keep Hoban out of the end zone there. And they ended up doing that as Hoban missed a field goal in the next possession right before halftime. So credit Welsh there for bouncing back from a bad play and making a big play to keep them in the ball game at halftime at 21-6.
All right, let's just note it real quick, Kenny. Hindsight's 20/20, right? That's a famous saying, especially Monday morning quarterback, whatever you want to call it. At this point, Massillon gets the ball back. They've got a minute. They are down 21-6, and while they did get that interception, it was not their game, and they were having a lot of problems. I thought to myself, they need to get into halftime. They need to be done.
They dodged the bullet, Billy, because I said the same thing on the air. They went for the home run ball and came up empty and gave the ball back to Hoban. Luckily for Massillon, though, they came back and missed the field goal. Hoban did from 41 yards, pushed it right. But I was like, I'm thinking, okay, boy, it was 3rd and 5, manageable, I think it was. Get the first down, run out the clock, have the momentum going in there. And they went for the home run ball down the right sideline, incomplete. They had to punt. Hoban had a chance to score maybe another 7. They were stopped. Give Massillon's defense credit again. They're forcing the 41-yard field goal, and it was wide right. That's one of the weaknesses of Hoban's team. They're now 2 of 6 on field goal attempts on the year. So they dodged the bullet there. And if you're in the locker room at 21-6, you're head coach Nate Moore, you're telling your guys, hey, guys, yeah, we've got to kick off. We get a stop there, right? Or maybe a turnover. We go down, we get a touchdown. We're right back in this ball game. We've been here before. Let's do that and come out and get the game started in the second half that way.
It's exactly what they did. You know, again, we note there, I just don't know that they, you know, maybe the plan was, let's try and hit them quick. Let's try and get 3 or 7, you know, real quick. Again, they were struggling to get the Slaughter Banks connection, right? As much pressure as Slaughter was under, they continued to really try and get that going. And it never took. I mean, there were multiple throws. Either Banks missed it or Slaughter overthrew it, or there was too much pressure.
Banks had one. He came right at me on the Massillon sideline at about the 10-yard line, and he misjudged the pass. It was a nice ball from Slaughter. Jalen Slaughter put it out there, and Banks, and he even like grabbed his helmet with both hands. You know, he did one of these. You know, he knew he should have, caught the football.
Right.
They, for whatever reason, they could not connect on the night. But like I said, they're in the locker room now. It's halftime. Let's come out and see if we can make this a game. And they get the turnover, Billy, on that opening drive as Hoban was taking it down into Massillon territory. They get a big turnover, and then Dorian Pringle gets Massillon back in the football game as they put a nice drive together.
Yeah, I want to note for Massillon, this is where I talked about first they went to the players that got him there. Then they had to start mixing it up, right? So then you stop seeing Slaughter go long, and it starts becoming slants and quick passes to Braylon Tolles, who has had big plays and had the game-winning catch, I believe, versus St. Ed's earlier in the year. But at this point in the season, it's Slaughter, it's Banks, it's Hartson, and last week it was Pringle. So they start hitting. I want to give Tolles credit. They start hitting him on the slant passes. Huge, not long plays, Kenny, but first down, 7 yards to move this thing, to get it going. And then, you get to about the 5 or 6. Here they go. Pringle, he's breaking tackles. He's shimmying. He gets into the end zone. At this point, I think Hartson had really taken hits, stuffed in the backfield. They had to mix it up. And again, they go to Pringle here. See him break that initial tackle, gets to that second level and scores. That was huge. And again, they were down 21-6 before he scored, so they had to go for 2. I really liked what they did here. This was similar to the touchdown they had against Lake last week. Gave it to Slaughter. He moves around a little bit, finds his man, and this was our most liked tweet and Facebook post and whatnot of the night, because I noted this is it. Massillon's back. It's a 1-score game. They've got the momentum, and a great catch and a give and go there to Jameer Gamble. So again, you give it to Pringle. He scores. You go for 2. Next thing you know, what are you looking at, Kenny? 21-14. Massillon's got the momentum, and the defense, I believe, was looking very, very good at this point.
Yeah, they were. And a great read there by Slaughter, similar to the touchdown pass last week where he scrambled a little bit and found Dorian Pringle for the touchdown. Here it's a 2-point conversion, and he delivers it to the wide open man. Great catch. And all of a sudden it's 21-14. You're thinking, okay, got to get a stop once again. But what do good teams do, Billy? Good teams respond to the challenge. And that's exactly, unfortunately for Massillon, what Akron Hoban did. As, okay, it's a ball game. It's a 1-score game. We've been here before, too. Let's show you what we're made of. And they go right down the field and push it out to a 2-touchdown lead after Mr. Mo seemed to be all on the Massillon sideline. And with the crowd there, and an estimated 8,000 were in attendance for both sides last night. But Massillon had more people there, and you heard them, hooting and hollering, and they're back in the game. Well, Akron Hoban answered that call pretty impressively.
Well, and you said good coaches, right? You talk about it. And what else do good coaches do, Kenny? And I hope Kevin Stefanski's watching, listening. When it's time, give it to your best player.
Yeah.
And let him work, right? All of Cleveland every week screams, feed Chubb. Right here, right back, feed Sperling. This was an electric highlight. Breaks those tackles, scoops around the guy, hits that second level, boom. And that's what it was. Massillon was back in it until Lamar Sperling came right back down. I mean, I know we weren't as close. It's right there at that second level that he gets to. We know he has the speed, but it's breaking those 4 tacklers that are coming at him to kind of start that play, diving at his feet, hitting his shoulder. And credit to the receivers there, giving him a little extra room on the block.
Yeah.
And that was his longest run on the day. Huge touchdown there for Sperling.
I want to give love to Peyton Cook and Jalen Hightower. As you're watching this on the outside, they held their blocks just long enough, and that's all he needs. He needs a crease, right? He needs a simple crease. There's one block, boom, to the outside. And look, the Hoban sideline knows you ain't catching him. Ain't no chance you're getting number 32 once he gets past the line of scrimmage and is heading to the sideline. And this was a great job of complementary football, team football. The receivers, what do they want to do? They want to catch the ball. But Tim Tyrrell told me, hey, on our team, you got to block as well. And they did a great job, and they sprung Sperling, and he took it the distance. And at that point, that's when I kind of had that feeling that, okay, yeah, there's time left, but this game's over, that Massillon's not going to catch Hoban tonight.
And look, as you know, we're going to talk about the team that won, but let's break down what Massillon's doing, okay? This is the second time, Kenny, that we see a huge play, pass or run, and I should know on plays like this, good or bad, who is the free safety? Who is the last line of defense? This is another highlight. I'm not sure if it's number 16, Ryan Page, or if it's Zach Liebler. I thought it was Zach Liebler. I think that's their main free safety. But again, on a play like this, on a huge run by Sperling, Page is up front. I don't see Liebler until the end. He catches up late from the other side. He was defending his man on a pass, it looks like. But again, we saw that play. We saw the long to Rogers play here where Page had crept up. And then Liebler's on the right. He took a receiver. So, if you want to wonder what happened, it just looks like Massillon's guys were a little spread out. And even on plays like you talked about, where they are defending the run, pushing
I
the
want to
run,
say,
going
Billy,
at it.
I'm going to say over aggressive. That's what
Lamar,
I'm going to say
right.
with Page. He was trying to be over aggressive instead
Great
of
point.
just doing your job. We hear Bill Belichick say that, right? Do your job. Don't make the highlight tackle. Do your job. Be 1 of 11. Be where you're supposed to be. Eye discipline, right?
Mhm.
Where are you supposed to be? Don't think that, oh, I'm going to make that tackle, make a highlight tackle. That's not your job in this play.
Right.
Stay home. Be where you're supposed to be. And we see that he's not the only one, though. Other guys were over aggressive. We see it each and every week at all three levels, high school, college, and the pros. Overreaction, over aggressiveness, and teams that are very good bank on you being over aggressive because of a Nick Chubb with the Browns, because of, well, I was going to say Travion Henderson, but I think he's out again today against Michigan, so we'll have to wait and see. But whoever the running back is for Ohio State, because of Lamar Sperling, teams overreact to him, and good coaches realize that and design a game plan. And it was interesting to watch. And I talked to Tim Tyrrell at halftime. I asked him, did you throw that much in the first half because of what they were doing, or was that the game plan coming in? And Tim told me, he said, no, that was our game plan coming in because we thought they would try and stack the box, be over aggressive, and stop Lamar. And so we decided to put in, not put in, but call some plays where we used him more as a decoy and were able to throw the ball. He said, look, we're confident that in Ja'Kai Long, we can throw it. Maybe some teams out there didn't think we could, and they weren't picture perfect passes, but they didn't have to be when, who was it? Rodgers and Crable were open by 15 yards. You just got to get them the ball, and those kids will take it the distance. So that's a great coaching job by Tim Tyrrell and Hoban for setting that up that way as they use the pass early to open up the run late for Sperling.
And look, let's do it, Kenny. Let's give it the Lamar. I know we've done it a lot over the show, but let's really focus in on it. First quarter, they used Sperling more as a decoy. There wasn't much there, like you said, under 20 yards. We heard 16 or 15. Then it was on. 4 touchdowns. You look at each one of them, creating space, speed, agility, breaking tackles. Again, we're going to give plenty of credit to both receivers and the O-line for blocking, but there are just points where it's Lamar Sperling. There's no argument as to how the play happened. Right there, he breaks the tackle. Again, good blocking by the receivers, but he's leaping over guys. He's shedding shoulder tackles. Again, you line him up goal line. That's a pile he shouldn't come out of. He comes out of it. Touchdown. That's his 3rd touchdown of the night. And then his 4th one was really just a punch in the mouth for Massillon. Again, they stacked the box here. He goes right at the linebackers. Great blocking. Again, you see it's good blocking when Sperling's in the end zone with his linemen, right?
Yeah. He had a very patient game and yet a dominating game at the same time, right? He understands he's 1 of 11. And yeah, he may be Mr. Football in Ohio this year, but he realizes that Javion Crable is a hell of a talent, that Rodgers, would be a big-time running back maybe for other teams around the state of Ohio, and that Ja'Kai Long can throw the football. So he's willing to do whatever it takes to win a state championship. They lost last year in the finals to Winton Woods 21-10. That's been the driving force for them, the motivation for them this year. So whatever it takes is their mindset. And he knew eventually, with an offensive line, Billy, that averages 6'2.5", 302 pounds, he knew eventually that those body blows in a heavyweight fight like this would eventually take their, wear the Massillon defense down, and they did. And that's when you hit them with a dose of Sperling for 55 yards and a touchdown. And the other interesting thing that Tim Tyrrell told me when he was on the Kenny and JT show, we always ask the coaches, what are the keys to the game? If you're going to win, what are the keys to the game? He only gave me 2. Usually coaches will give me 3, maybe 4 keys to the game. He said this: don't give up big plays on defense. Check, right? They didn't. Score on big plays on offense. Boom. You said it. They had 3 of them of over 50 yards, and value the football. So, you combine that big play key, offense and defense. That's one. And value the football. They won the turnover battle. And so, in a game of this magnitude, big plays and turnovers usually determine the outcome. And when you have Lamar Sperling and he's able to hit you with 5, 6, 7, and then boom, 55 like that, it's going to be a long night for the opposition.
And then, let's talk about the Hoban defense, right? We've given a lot of love to the offense. Some plays here, Kenny, both pressuring Jalen Slaughter. This was the opening drive interception. They get after Slaughter and pick it off. That was the start. You'll see a lot of plays where Slaughter had to throw it into the grounds. This one here, Slaughter gets under pressure. He's not even near a receiver. It bounces away. He had to throw it away. We talk about a tough day for Hartson, for Pringle. The line was there for Hoban, both on Slaughter and on the running backs, pounding them right away up the middle. And then Hoban finished with 3 interceptions. This one was huge. Again, he tries to go to Banks. It's an overthrow. It looks like Banks kind of gave up, and that was the final pick right there that ended things. The Hoban defense, electric, tremendous, tough, strong, fast, huge. Everything they wanted to get done, they got done. It looked, they could have had a pick 6 there. I know they ended up kneeling. They were after Slaughter all night. They were ball hawks. They've got athletes everywhere, and it stacked up. It really stacked up for both Slaughter and the Tigers' O-line.
Yeah, they played a good game. Not a great game, but a good enough game to win. They made enough plays to stop Massillon. And when you can put up 40 points on a night, and they've been doing that in the playoffs, it's pretty impressive for them as they're playing for their 6th state championship under Tim Tyrrell. And here's the thing that Tim also told me. He said, our last game of the regular season against St. Ed's, they whooped us. I think it might have been, it was either 41-20 or 40-21, whatever the final score, similar to this final score. He said, they whooped us, and we needed that. He said, I don't think we'd be here where we're at right now if we didn't get our butts whooped by St. Ed's. He said, our heads were, too big, couldn't fit in the helmets, and they needed a dose of reality. And since then, they've, run off, 5 wins, 5-0 in the playoffs in dominating fashion. And I look for them to win their 6th state championship. No offense to Toledo Central Catholic. If you're giving up 49 points to Kings Mills, Hoban's going to be able to put up 50 or 60 points on you. I expect them to beat Toledo Central Catholic and win the D2 state title on Thursday night.
All right, Kenny, let's do 2 things as we wrap here.
All right.
First, I want to give Will Hartson credit. We know him as a ground and pound guy, fast, strong, quick. Like you said, put foot in the ground, work in space. He went receiver mode. This reminded me of that Nick Chubb catch against the Bengals a couple of years ago where a power back is leaping over guys, making a catch. Massillon needed this late to kind of keep the confidence up. A good throw by Slaughter. It's a little bit of an underthrow. Both you and I thought it would be picked off, and I've got a closer look at it. Hartson kind of comes under the defender, steps up, and you can see here, puts his hands where the defender's hands are and makes it a 50-50 ball. Great catch by Will Hartson late.
Heck of a job to show his versatility. Not only can I run it, I can catch it as well. So college scouts who were there last night may be looking at him, right? And he's taking visits. He was supposed to be on with us last week on the Saturday morning huddle after their win over Lake. And had to cancel on us because he went and took a visit. And we totally understand that, and good for him. And here is just another play to add to his highlight reel for teams out there considering him to play at the next level. And he will play at the next level if he wants to, and I think he does. So whoever's getting him, they're going to get a good one. So a touchdown run of 20 yards on the ground, a touchdown catch of 20 yards in the air. So a nice way to finish his high school career there at Massillon.
All right, and let's get to the big question.
All right.
I've seen it in the comments. I saw it tweeted a lot last night. Hoban, Massillon, right, the matchup, blah, blah, blah. And we know Massillon's won before.
Yeah.
How do they get back, Kenny? A lot of people, Hoban's too good. They need to move up. They need to stop recruiting this, that, blah, blah, blah. I know there's big debate. The comments, you know how it gets. How does Massillon do it? How do they overcome them? How do they beat them? I'm going to give my theory, and then I want to hear from you.
Go ahead. You start.
I thought Massillon had the team to do it. They had the defense. They had the depth, the experience. They had, the Eds win under the belt. They beat McKinley. They cruised through the postseason. Really thought they were coming in hot. I think the key going forward, the next 2 years, is Jalen Slaughter. Develop Jalen Slaughter. Push Jalen Slaughter. Run him more, right? Build him up. Make him stronger. Make him faster. As he gets older, Kenny, I think this coaching staff could really embrace him. At points last night, we saw it. Ardell Banks is a D1 receiver. He's going to go D1. Every receiver looked D1 for them because Slaughter was working through pressure, setting his feet, delivering, ping, pop, getting out of it. Now he made mistakes, and a part of me wondered if this was an offense that tossed it around all season long, all the time. Maybe Jalen Slaughter is more comfortable, is more confident, and the game plan is Slaughter, all night long, run or pass. I think the next 2 years, Massillon could really embrace their quarterback a little more. And, we know Pringle I believe he'll come into his senior year, so you have that option. And Massillon develops talent very well. So, they're going to have a running game, but I like the idea of Jalen Slaughter really being a big-time player for Massillon going forward.
Here's what I'll say to that. He's only a sophomore, Billy.
Right.
Playing in this game. So you're not going to build your offense around a sophomore quarterback unless he's 6'5", 220 pounds, right? I'm looking in the stat sheet, and Jalen Slaughter's listed at 5'11", 160. That's why you don't run him, because if he gets hurt, then what do? Then you're not as good. So you want him to be a pocket passer this year, run very little, and you don't need to run him with Hartson and Pringle. So this is good experience for him. Coming back the next 2 years, yes, he needs to be a bigger part of their offense, no question about it. They can't beat themselves when it comes to big games. The year they beat Hoban at Infocision Stadium in Akron, they won the turnover battle. They didn't beat themselves. And when you play a game of this magnitude, right, and this is to go to the state finals, you can't beat yourself. 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions. At least on one of them, the wrong route was run. Eye discipline, defensive discipline, right? Didn't do that. So it's the little things like that add up in a game against an opponent of Hoban's caliber. So everybody talks about Hoban, and they're able to go out and recruit. Heck, Ja'Kai Long came from West Virginia, right? He played in high school football last year as a junior in West Virginia. He's a starting quarterback in Akron, Ohio for Hoban his senior year. So, yeah, they have the ability to go out and recruit, but hey, you talk to McKinley, Glen Oak, and some of these others going to say Massillon recruits. What do you mean? They're just like Hoban. They can go out and look at how many kids came from Beechwood and wherever else they have some kids on their roster from. So they go out and they bring kids in. So there's a reason these two schools were playing. Okay. Their talent level much better than everybody else's, I think, in Division II. I think the state championship game was last night. I think,
correct.
The winner of that game, I said it on the air. I'll say it again here on the Saturday Morning Huddle. I thought then, I think now that whoever won last night's game is going to be crowned Division II state champs. If it was Massillon, they would have won then Thursday night against Toledo Central Catholic, their first ever state title in the playoff era. If it was Hoban, they're going to, Massillon loses, Hoban wins. Hoban's going to win its 6th state championship on Thursday night. Massillon, you've got to play better in bigger games, be more disciplined in bigger games. They've got the talent. Kids will come there to play. And Nate Moore's a heck of a coach, the all-time winningest coach there at Massillon. And let's remember, they've been in the state championship game before. Last year, they lost where? In the regional finals to Green. Upset in that game. Here, they make it a step further. State semifinals to Hoban. It's a shame that these two had to play in the semis and not the state championship, but that's the way the OHSAA set it up, and you deal and play the schedule that's in front of you. But Massillon, they're close. They're close. They've got to find a way to get over the hump. And I think it's more about themselves, not beating themselves, than the opposition they play. They were the better team than Green last year and yet lost that game. I don't think they're the better team than Hoban after watching the game last night. I think Hoban's the better team after seeing that game last night. But Massillon was within a touchdown in the third quarter and couldn't find a way to get over the hump tip the cap to Tim Tyrrell, and good luck next year to Nate Moore and the Tigers. Congratulations to those seniors from Massillon who got them to the state semifinals this year.
All right, let's plug everything here. I'm going to have all the interviews Kenny talked about up on our Instagram after the show finishes here. So hear from Lamar Sperling, hear from Javion Crable, and then all our shows this year. We've had a great time doing these. We appreciate all the coaches, players that came on. We got to shout out Derek Philo. He did a lot of filming for us on the sideline. That's why we were able to have so many highlights. Denny Kincaid did stats.
Yeah, Dr. AJ Seth from Ortho United, Spectrum Orthopedics, right now Ortho United. He was on with us throughout the year. Great insight there. So thanks again to Dr. AJ Seth for coming on. Yeah, this was the first year we did this, Billy, and we had a lot of fun and got great response from it, from the coaches, the players. And so we look forward to year number 2 of it. And before we get to that, Billy, just real quick, state semifinal scores from last night. Hoban 41, Massillon 20, Toledo Central Catholic 52, Kings Mills 49. So it's Hoban against Toledo Central Catholic Division 2. Division 1, how about this? St. Ed's 31, Gahanna Lincoln 7. So Ed's in the state championship. They'll have a chance to go back-to-back, but they will not play Moeller. Moeller upset by Springfield last night, 28-24. So the D1 state championship game in Canton will be St. Ed's against Springfield. Division 3, Canfield beat Holy Name 38-21, and Bloom Carroll took care of Tippecanoe 35-12. So it's Canfield against Bloom Carroll in Division 3. And in Division 5 last night, Ironton 35-21 over Valley View. South Range, very good football team. I know Trucker, Linda Smith, and Central play them almost every year. South Range, a 35-0 win over Liberty Center. So it's Ironton against South Range in the D5 state championship game. And today we have 3 more batches of semifinal games today. Division 4 semifinals today. Steubenville against Cincinnati, Wyoming, and Jefferson Area, who beat West Branch, against Cleveland Glenville. That's in Division 4, the state semifinals today. Division 6, Marion Local 14-0 against Columbus Grove. Kirtland 14-0 against Fort Fry. I'll just tell you, it's going to be Marion Local and Kirtland for that Division 6 state championship game. Will make for a fantastic game. And then Division 7, New Bremen against Lima Central Catholic in one state semifinal, and Warren JFK against Newark Catholic in the other D7 semifinal. So you're up to date on what happened last night and the games that will be played today. And of course, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the Hall of Fame City, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, will have all 7 state championship games starting Thursday night with the Division 2 state championship game between Toledo Central Catholic and Hoban. That'll be a 7 o'clock kickoff on Thursday night.
We'll have all the highlights on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then again, if you saw any of the highlights today you liked, go to our YouTube, rewatch this episode, or we've got a highlight package up from last night for both teams. And then, of course, if you want to go back every week, I remember Massillon beat St. Ed's. Yep, we did an episode the next day. We had Nate Moore on. We talked about, a huge win for Jackson. They beat Perry in overtime. Yep. We talked with Jay Roy and Jason Davide, a ton of stuff like that, Kenny. Every week we had a lot of great guests, so we appreciate everybody tuning in. We're going to do the same thing next year. We're going to have the same energy next year. I'll admit it takes a lot to broadcast a game, to come home, to talk with coaches, players, to get them booked. You and I are communicating. You're getting stats together. You're getting stuff together. Then we wake up. I'm cutting highlights. You're sending highlights. We're talking stats. We're talking pictures, photos, times. It takes a lot, but when the show's done and when we go back and rewatch, it really is a great rewatch. And again, we appreciate everybody being involved.
It's a labor of love for us. It's our passion in WHBC. Next year, it'll be year number 79 of high school football on the radio at WHBC, and it'll be year number 2 of the Saturday morning huddle for everybody on our YouTube channel, Facebook channel, and we look forward to both of them. And thanks to everybody at WHBC, the engineers who don't get enough love. Dale Lamb, does an unbelievable job making sure we're on the air. You're on the air with the streaming games, the TV crew and everybody. So it's a team effort. We all do our jobs, and we bring you 3 games every weekend during the regular season, and then bonus stuff like this. And great job by you, Billy, getting all the highlights and everything in. And who knows, maybe we'll even add some more people to the mix next year on the Saturday morning huddle and make it even a bigger and better show.
I like it. We'll see you in the huddle next year, Star County.